Hail, and welcome to Heathen Hearth, the show where we explore recipes inspired by the historic and ethnographic imagination. This week, we're making something that is a fusion dish between Danish and Japanese. I'm calling it either Viking Takoyaki or Samurai Æbleskiver. Stay tuned. This week's episode is another fusion dish. This time we're doing a fusion between Japanese and Danish cuisine. And the dish is one that is made in a special type of pan. It's a pan that has little hemispherical depressions in it. It's usually made out of cast iron. And in Denmark, it's made usually used to make a dish called Æbleskiver, or it looks like Æbleskiver in English. And this is a type of hollow, round pancake. It means apple slices. You can put apples in it, but rarely is it made with apples nowadays. Usually you stuff it afterwards. And in Japan, they make something called takoyaki, which is, taco is octopus. And so they take a little ball of octopus and essentially put it in a savory pancake and turn that into a little sphere. It's a street food from, I think it's from Osaka Prefecture in Japan, and it originated in the 1930s. Now, there are other types of dishes that are like this, made with these types of pans around the world. There's a dish in South India that is used, they use something a lot like a dosa or an idli batter in a pan like this. Then, of course, the Dutch have a dish that's similar to the Danish one, except they use buckwheat flour in theirs. And then there is also a dish in Indonesia and Thailand, and of course in Hong Kong there's a similar dish called egg waffles. So there are dishes like this around the world, but I picked Japan and Denmark because the Japanese dish is probably the most well known in the West, and the Danish dish is one that comes from my family heritage. Also too, both Japan and Denmark really love their seafood, and I thought there'd be really interesting swap outs of some of the ingredients. The first thing we need to do is make the toppings, and we'll let those flavors marinate together. I'm making a remoulade, which is originally a French sauce, but the Danes have made it their own. You'll see how that's made. There's also a few toppings that I've prepared, which are a little bit different than the takoyaki toppings that are used in Japan. And we'll also be putting together the batter. And all of these things, it's good to prepare them ahead of time because this cooks very, very fast. And there's a little bit of difficulty involved and skill with making these hemispherical pancakes. Something that I wasn't able to find is where these pans originally came from or originated. My guess was that it was actually something else that was repurposed, maybe during the colonial period. So this looks like something that could make shot for a small type of cannon. And I was thinking, I don't know, maybe the Dutch had it and the Danes got it from the Dutch, and then the Dutch spread it through Asia with their colonial empire, or maybe the Dutch brought it back from Asia. If anybody knows the answer to this question or has their own speculations, please mention it in the comments below, and see if we can find any sources on the origins of this pan. This batter is one that is extremely thin, so all you need to do is have some stock. In the Japanese they use dashi. Here I'm using lobster broth, just because that's what I had. And that's 1 cup of broth. This is my rye flour sourdough starter, and it is roughly a 1-to-1 water to flour ratio. Now in Denmark and in Japan they usually use white wheat flour, but we're going to experiment with sourdough today. And last but not least, 2 eggs. And we'll mix that all up. Into a thin batter. Now this will look really, really thin to you. Don't worry, this is what they use in Japan for the takoyaki. You'll want to put this into a pitcher so that it's easy to pour out later. There we go. For the sauce, all you need is a cup of mayonnaise, and this is dill pickles, naturally fermented, that are minced very small. I've also minced a shallot here. This is one of the red types. And we have a teaspoon of mustard powder. And I actually mixed up a little bit too much, but this is curry powder, and it's a very light curry powder with a lot of turmeric in it. And that's mainly for color, but also a little taste. We'll let those marry too. First, I'm going to turn this thing on. Let's see here. There we go. And this is my pan. And it's the perfect size. You notice on the bottom that it has pockets. Those are specifically made for a gas oven. You always have to make sure that your pan is greased really well in between. And I am doing mine with clarified butter. That's ready. Into each goes a piece of shrimp. Did I put a piece of shrimp at the middle one? Oh well, you're getting 2 pieces of shrimp then. And a little bit of horseradish. And fried onions. Alright, then I'm going to start spinning them. See if this works. This is the hardest part. Oh, not ready yet. The rye ones aren't holding together that great. Let's see. Maybe they need to cook longer. At this point, you can add a little bit more batter. This week we are blessed with another guest taster. You will recognize Kadri Lawrence, and she's here for the tasting. So this doesn't look all that amazing. It looks like a very crisp sort of pancake, but on top we have our salmon, of course, and remoulade sauce. So do you want to try it and give the first taste? Remember, there's something inside too.
Okay.
So it's all about the textures, this thing.
It looks kind of like a meatball.
It looks like a meatball, but it's not.
I like it. There's a lot of different flavors in it, and there's like tanginess.
The tanginess comes from the sourdough bread starter that I used to make it.
It's got some sweetness in it too, and almost a mustardy.
Yeah, the sauce has a little bit of mustard in it.
It's really good.
And it's got that kind of really deep, sort of delicious funkiness you get from good shrimp or salmon. Like
yeah.
Yeah, it's actually...
and the aftertaste has a bit of smoke flavor too.
Yeah, and the smoke, I think, is just from the pan. So that's just the rye that's been charred. It's
That's really good.
It's a totally different kind of dish. It doesn't taste like I think takoyaki tastes like at all, but it's a really delicious kind of dish. And even
light too.
Light, yeah. Even though it has the rye flavor, it tastes nothing like the rye bread.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really at all.
Yeah, it has them. I think that's because the texture is just totally different. So that was good.
Yeah.
That's an experiment. You can try your own or see. I'm interested to see what kinds of fusion dishes you come up with whatever cuisine. Send me your pictures, remember? heathen.hearth@rogers.com. And once I collect enough, I'll put together a reel for everybody. Till next time, keep cooking.